Hello everyone, our topic today is about public safety. In the early of February in 2015, the New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio disclosed a draft version of New York City budget plan and emphasized that tens of millions of dollars would be spent on public safety. In this budget plan, the government would mainly focus on three programs to enhance the public safety. First, an annual spending of $80 million to add ambulances shifts and hire dozens of dispatchers was proposed. This program aims to improve response times for the city's ambulances, which was lagged last year. Secondly, the government would add $7.3 million to buy thousands of bulletproof vests for the police officers. This is a long-time demand of the police union leaders. Besides, an additional $10 million will expand a cadet program to train new officers. Third, the mayor proposed to spend $39.1 million to the ratio of guards to inmates and improve the screening of prospective correction officers to keep the safety of the inmates. The high spending reveals the government's determination to keep the public safe. Adam Smith once pointed out in The Wealth of Nations that the initial role of the government is to ensure the individual's and society's safety. It is no wonder that when Mr. de Blasio was praised in his budget plan disclosure. In the discipline of public economics, public safety is also a kind of public good. There are two characteristics of public good. That is non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Non-excludable means that individuals cannot be effectively excluded from using the good. Non-rivalrous means that the use by one individual does not reduce availability to others. Public safety can satisfy the two requirements at the same time. Public safety refers to the welfare and protection of the general public. As a consumption good, public safety can be measured by the expected damage by any person residing or passing through the society. Public safety is non-excludable. That is, non-paying consumers are not and cannot be excluded from consuming this product. By staying in a commodity, the individual gets to consume its public safety independent how much he has contributed to the provision of this good. Public safety is also non-rivalrous. That is, when one consumer enjoys the high level of public safety, the amount of public safety enjoyed by other consumers of the community is not reduced. Public safety might be subject to congestion, especially when the emergency situation for different customers is highly correlated.
Now, let's take ambulance as an example and try to analyze some particular case in terms of ambulance provision. First, how is the ambulance related to the public safety, and why does the mayor care so much about the improvement of ambulance service in his budget plan? It is generally accepted that the public health is actually a very important part of public safety, where safety is a generalized meaning which requires the smooth operating of all aspects of a community. So we consider ambulance service as a specific program in public safety. Then let me tell something about the characteristics of ambulance service. Is ambulance service a public good? Our analysis starts from the definition of public good. Public good is not excludable and not rival. Ambulance service are free in most countries, although in some situations it is not free. The price of ambulance service is low and reasonable enough to be not excludable. We will take Singapore as a case and talk more about it later. In terms of non-rivalry, under general conditions, the ambulance service is sufficient enough for the demand, so there is little congestion. What we should know here is that pure public goods is rare. Most public goods are impure. They are either excludable at a cost or suffer from congestion beyond some level of use. When there is obvious congestion in the use of this service, the consumption of ambulance may reduce the quantity available for other patients, so the ambulance is rival. Under this condition, we should consider ambulance service as a common resource.
Unlike pure public goods, ambulances, as common resources, face problems of congestion. In most countries, ambulances are mainly provided and managed by governments. However, sometimes ambulances amounts cannot meet the need of patients in emergency. So we may ask, is it feasible for the private to provide ambulances to solve the problem? And is it necessary for governments to provide ambulances? We will answer these questions by the following examples. The first story happened in a county in Sichuan province. There were a number of private ambulances outside the hospitals. The owners of these ambulances said they could pick up the patients to the hospitals, and their ambulance had very professional emergency equipment. However, the truth was that they did not know how to treat the patients on the way to the hospital, and their equipment was just simple. This would miss the bus rescue time and harm the life of the patients. Meanwhile, the owners of these private ambulances asked very high prices when arriving at the destination. Considering this problem, the local government regarded the ambulances were illegal and should be forbidden to use. In this example, since we cannot ensure the safety and profession of the private ambulances, it should be government, not the private, to provide ambulances. But if the government do not have the plan to increase the amount of ambulances, it may be a good idea to allow legal private company to provide professional ambulances service.
The second story is about Singapore. In Singapore, there are two kinds of ambulance services available: public ambulance service and private ambulance service. The two systems are independent and complementary. The hotline for public ambulance is 995, while for private ambulance, the hotline is 1777. Now let's talk something about the two kinds of provisions. First, private ambulance. When there is an emergency on hand, dial 995 to call for an SCDF ambulance. The SCDF, that is Singapore Civil Defense Force, is a government department that is in charge of ambulance services of Singapore. It operates a 24-hour emergency medical services (EMS). The purpose of the EMS is to deal with life-threatening situations. In an emergency, every second counts, so a free public ambulance service is very important to ensure the efficiency. Second, private ambulance. When a case is a non-emergency, the SCDF EMS should not be used. Instead, dial 1777 for a non-SCDF ambulance. Since 2009, SCDF has been engaging private ambulance operators to augment its emergency ambulance service to address the increasing demand for ambulance needs. In this case, the ambulance service is not free anymore. Instead, it charges money for each non-emergency case to discourage abuse. We can get some suggestions from this story. First, sometimes private ambulance can be a supplement to public ambulance. Coexistence of private and public ambulance may generate efficient outcome. However, screening from a government or regulator is necessary to ensure this kind of efficiency.
The forms providing private ambulance are strictly selected by NCDF. In addition, all private ambulance paramedics will be required to pass the paramedic specialist certification test at the Civil Defense Academy once every 6 months. The supervision will ensure the efficiency for providing ambulance services. We can get some conclusions from this project. First, we analyze the characteristics of ambulance, an important aspect to enhance public safety. Second, when necessary, ambulance can be provided by legal private institutions or firms. That's all our presentation. Thank you for your attention.